Hello,
Hey, Ronnie.
this is JTH,
Mr. Till Zero.
and to answer your question, this is my own Matt Smith screwdriver.
Mm-hmm.
Got it as a birthday gift, turned 18, not 18, 21 a week or two ago. Not only did I get this, I got River Song's Journal, and I also got Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 3. And by the way, check out his derpy necklace.
This beats all of your birthday gifts.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does.
Okay. Anyway, this is part two
Of our 200th video special, Silent Ponyville 2.
so let's get this going.
Yep, Chapter 2, and it doesn't have a title, it's just called Chapter 2. Rainbow desperately waved her hoof, but no matter what, she couldn't seem to grab hold of the fog. She reared up on her hind legs and kicked as hard as she could, but her legs only hit air.
Alright.
Yeah, just a hiccup there. Ugh, what's wrong with this fog? I can't touch it, Rainbow huffed, stomping a hoof on the ground.
I pinched my skin in the screwdriver.
I am not sure. It was like this for me, too, Pinky said, looking up at the sky. I originally tried to escape from here by using my balloon to fly out, but it had too many holes in it. I don't know what's beyond the fog bank. Well, I'm about to find out. If nothing else, I should be able to get rid of this fog, Rainbow said, spreading her wings before racing up to the sky, disappearing from sight quickly. Do you think it's safe? Fluttershy asked, looking at Pinky curiously. If any pony can handle herself, it's Rainbow Dash. I'm sure she'll manage to have this place cleared up in 10 seconds flat. Rainbow Pinky's words were interrupted by an ear-shattering roar that bounced and echoed through town. It felt like the very earth itself was shaking from the roar. Fluttershy and Pinky instantly looked up to the sky in the direction of the roar as Rainbow came barreling through the fog at them. The music box in Fluttershy's bag began to hiss with a familiar sound of bees being stuck in the box. Run now! She yelled loudly before swooping down to grab the hoops of her friends before giving them a chance to register her words. She half-dragged them behind the library, and all they heard was a tremendous thud shake the ground as if something gigantic had just landed quickly. What's going? Pinkie Pie tried to ask, but Rainbow quickly shoved her hooves into her mouth, giving her a loud shh. Look around the corner, carefully, Rainbow whispered harshly before looking around the tree herself. Pinky and Fluttershy carefully looked around the corner themselves. Fluttershy's eyes widened as she felt as if her heart could stop at the sight before them. A gigantic black dragon had landed in front of Twilight's house. It growled softly as black smoke billowed from its nose. It gave a snort, shooting out a large part of smoke into the air as it swiveled its head around looking for the pony that had just escaped from its sight. It stepped forward, carefully examining the building and areas on the street. It gave another snort of frustration as its wings opened up, giving them a good flap, lifting its body into the sky and causing everything to rattle and shake with the force of the wind. With a few more quick flaps, it flew into the fog-filled sky, disappearing from sight. The buzzing of the music box faded away with the dragon. The three mares stood frozen, waiting until they could no longer hear the beating of its wings before letting out a collective sigh.
God damn.
Giant black dragon.
Fuck that. I'd be fucking digging in the ground, hiding underground. I'd be that scared.
Yeah.
Fuck this.
What's a dragon doing here? Pinky asked, stepping up from behind the tree, looking up at where it had flown off. I don't know, but it seemed to know exactly where I was the moment I started flying, Rainbow said, looking at her wings. I can't go up into the sky and clear this weather away if it knows where we are when I fly. Rainbow groaned. Meaning I can't fly at all if that's what we're going to have to deal with this fog. It's alright, Pinky said reassuringly. Fog's not so bad. Once we get inside, we'll be able to see just fine. Is that supposed to make her feel better? She can't fly at all. Rainbow Dash lives to fly.
Well, it's either stay on the ground or die, so I'd rather stay on the fucking ground.
Yeah. If you say so. Alright, let's go, Fluttershy. Rainbow said, turning around to see a ball of pink, to look at the ball of pink that was curled up, shivering on the floor. Fluttershy? She asked worriedly, quickly running over to her mare friend. Dragon that chases you when you fly. Fluttershy stuttered in fear, whimpering and shivering, curled up in a ball behind the tree. She was scared out of her wits.
I don't blame her.
I don't blame her either. Don't forget she said she's terrified of dragons.
I'd be fucking terrified too.
Hey, come on, it's alright. He's gone now, Rainbow said, leaning down and nuzzling Fluttershy gently. He's gone and he won't hurt you. I promise. Fluttershy began to calm down, feeling the comfort of Rainbow Dash. She stopped shivering, leaning up and nuzzling Rainbow Dash back. It's just one dragon. We'll get to your house, find out what's causing these nightmares, and we'll be out of here in no time, okay? Rainbow said reassuringly to her mare friend. Well, Pinkie said, looking conflicted, I don't want to lie to you two, but that might not be all we face. What? You mean there's more? Rainbow said, looking up surprised at Pinkie.
Duh.
Well, when this happened to me before, I encountered many monsters. Pinkie hung her head solemnly, not wanting to have to say this. It's why I didn't want Fluttershy coming in here alone. I was afraid she'd have to face the monsters like I did, and I couldn't stand the idea of her having to face them alone. Fluttershy shrunk back into her ball at Pinkie's words. And to think you didn't tell us when we were discussing the spells, Rainbow almost yelled at her, but holding herself back. Hey, I tried to get a different spell to be used. I did everything I could to make sure that we didn't have to resort to this, and when we did, I refused to let her do this alone, Pinkie protested to Dash's accusations. You still could have told us there'd be monsters, Rainbow felt her hair standing on end. We could have been more prepared. We could have prepared for facing them or running away. We could have brought our elements, Rainbow growled in frustration, closing her eyes. We could have done something so as not to put our lives in danger. Rainbow panted heavily. She was angry. She couldn't remember being so angry before.
When you enter Silent Hill or Silent Ponyville, there are no bringing things. You find your weapons. You find your health. There's no such thing as going in prepared.
Why, have you played the Silent Hill games?
Oh yeah, you go in with nothing, and you have to either run or find a weapon, and it ain't easy.
And what, are the monsters impossible to kill or something?
No, it takes about 2 or 3 shotgun shells to take the normal monsters down.
Oh.
But there are other creepy things, like, the giant spiders, which terrifies the fuck out of me.
Yeah, by the way, can I ask you something? Since this is Silent Hill and Silent Ponyville, like in the first Silent Ponyville, is the Slender Man in the game?
I never saw Slender Man.
But I know there are some references to him in the Silent Hill games.
There are references to Slender Man, yes,
like
but I haven't seen him.
His symbol, a circle with an X through it.
Yeah, but I haven't seen the Slender Man.
Imagine if he actually does show up. Oh my god, I'd run like hell.
He'd still catch you. He's Slender Man.
Yeah, he probably like hovers over the ground or something.
No, he just walks. He's like Michael Myers, but except he fucking walks really fast. So, I don't know. Let's continue reading.
Jason walks too. So does Freddy. I'm sorry. Pinkie lowered her head, her ears folding back. Rainbow opened her eyes and looked at Pinkie, who looked like she was on the verge of tears. Rainbow opened her mouth as to say something, but closed it again. She was still mad, but she couldn't stay mad at her friend this way. Rainbow turned her head to look at Fluttershy, who had covered her head with her hooves, shaking. Rainbow was sure she could hear Fluttershy's soft sobs. Rainbow sighed softly, walking up to Fluttershy, laying down on the ground before her, lowering her head and nuzzling her mare friend gently. Fluttershy hiccuped softly, trying to breathe, her mind still reeling from everything. Fluttershy, listen to me, please, Rainbow said, closing her eyes, speaking to her from her heart. This isn't the best situation we could find ourselves in, but I need you to know that no matter what happens or what we face, you're going to be okay. Fluttershy began to calm down again, sniffling as she took a deep breath, feeling the comfort of her mare friend. Slowly she uncurled from her ball, moving closer to Rainbow, wrapping her head around Rainbow's neck as Rainbow nuzzled against Fluttershy's neck. I need you to be strong now, alright? Fluttershy looked up into Rainbow's eyes, seeing the comfort and warmth they offered. She heard her words as they echoed in her mind. She gulped down the nervous tensions that had built up in her throat before nodding slowly. That's my girl. Rainbow kissed her forehead. She helped Fluttershy onto her hooves. Now give me a smile, alright? It took a moment, but Fluttershy managed to bring her courage forward and put a smile on her face. Rainbow smiled back before turning to face Pinkie, who still had the apologetic look on her face. Hey, look, it's alright, Pinkie Pie. Rainbow put on a smile on her face for her friend. I know you meant well. You wouldn't put us in danger on purpose, but since we're already here, we might as well just deal with it. You're still right, Dash, Pinkie said and turned her head away from Dash, still with a look of hurt on her face. I was really a stupid McStupid Pants. Pinkie let out a soft sigh before putting a smile on her face. But I'll do my best to make up for this and get us out of here as quickly as possible. So let's head for Fluttershy's house. Speaking of which, in the first one, didn't Pinkie have to head to her own house?
Yeah, she had to Sugar Cube Corner. Okay.
Right, Rainbow said, nodded, smiling. The three mares walked off into the fog. It seemed like a long walk to reach the outskirts of Fluttershy's cottage. The town had been deathly quiet. There was a moment or two when they had frozen, thinking they had heard the wing beats of the dragon, but it faded as quickly as it came. Ponyville had become a ghost town. The only three inhabitants seemed to be the three of them as they made their way out of town, following the path along the park, past the trees, quickly approaching the house where Fluttershy lived. Not gonna lie, even though this is just a story, I'm getting kinda scared here.
You should play the games. The games are horrifying.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Good games, though. Fun games.
Do they still have that like phonograph and stuff to warn you when monsters are nearby?
Yep, the phonograph is there. It goes off every time a monster is close.
The air had felt thick between them. None of them had spoken since they had started walking. The only sounds they heard were their hoofsteps and the occasional breeze that seemed to blow through the town. Here we are, Pinkie said as they approached the bridge before Fluttershy's house, the three of them just barely managing to make out the shape of her house in the fog. Do you think my animals are okay? Fluttershy asked as she looked around, trying to spot any critters.
I have a hard feeling that Angel's going to be dead in the house.
Like Gummy in the first one?
Yeah, I have a sad feeling that's probably what's going to be.
I don't think there's any around, Rainbow said, looking around herself before crossing the bridge. I'm not really who's saying this? Pinkie, okay. I'm not really sure what determines what you do and what you don't find in this world. Honestly, I figured we should come to Fluttershy's house first because home was the first place I went. So since this is Fluttershy's mind, it made sense to me. When I was in my mind, the path to Fluttershy's house was blocked off. Pinkie explained as she walked up to the front door of the cottage, checking for any locks that might be on the door. I see. Well, I'm actually glad my animals aren't here then, Fluttershy said, Fluttershy smiled, walking up to Pinkie. I'd hate for them to be put in danger. Pinkie opened the front door and the three of them entered Fluttershy's house. To Pinkie's surprise, the house was intact. Everything that should be there was. Nothing was run down or broken. There wasn't even any dust, as if the house had been sitting in time. What's the matter, Pinkie? You look surprised, Rainbow chuckled as she walked further into the house. I guess I am a little, Pinkie chuckled a little awkwardly as she closed the door behind them. So what exactly are we looking for? Rainbow asked, looking around the house. I'm not sure. I guess anything that seems odd or out of place. Something you wouldn't expect to find. Something you wouldn't expect, or just a clue as to what exactly is going on, Pinkie explained as she began to look around at various shelves in Fluttershy's home. Oh, well, I guess I would know best then, Fluttershy said, tapping a hoop to her chin as she carefully glanced around the room. As Pinkie and Rainbow Dash carefully looked around the living room, Fluttershy couldn't help but feel a connection to the kitchen. She stepped out of the living room, soon entering the familiar space of her kitchen. She looked around carefully, trying to spot what was giving her the feeling there was something in there. After it was then that her eyes fell on the fridge. Attached by a small butterfly magnet was a piece of paper, marked with what looked like a crayon. Fluttershy blinked, not having seen the paper before. She slowly walked up to it, getting a better look. It looked like a child's drawing, drawn with several colors of crayon. It was of a simple house with a sun. Outside was a happy pony attending to a garden. Below the picture there were words written in a red crayon. When I grow up, I will have a house and lots of pets. I love love helping animals. And I keep a key to let me know I will have a house. There was a small bulge under the paper as if the paper was hiding something. Fluttershy carefully lifted the paper and looked at the back of it, seeing a key taped to the back of it. She carefully peeled the key away, looking at it. This key was also in the shape of a butterfly. Hey, how come this door is locked? Fluttershy's ears perked up as she quickly walked back into the living room. She saw Rainbow Dash struggling to open the door to the closet, which was locked tight. Does it have a lock on it? Pinkie asked, turning from her side to the room, then looked at the door. Yeah, it does, Rainbow said, looking at the door. It's got the shape of a butterfly over a keyhole. Hint. Oh, well, I just found a key with a butterfly on it, Fluttershy said, holding up the key. Then it probably opens the door, Pinkie said, thinking about it. Though, maybe I should open the door. Why's that? Fluttershy asked, a little confused. Well, I just don't want anything popping out and hurting you, Pinkie thought before looking at Fluttershy's saddlebag. But I guess your music box isn't letting out any noise, so I think it should be safe. My music box? Fluttershy blinked, turning her head to look at the saddlebag. Yeah, do you remember when that music box started making noise when the dragon attacked? The music box will let you know when something is trying to hurt you gets close. So just be careful, alright? Pinkie explained, choosing her words carefully. I see. Alright, I'll be careful, Fluttershy nodded, walking up to the door. Rainbow backed up a little from the door, watching as Fluttershy unlocked the door. She slowly opened the door to her closet, looking inside the lightly lit room. She stepped inside slowly, noting that things she would normally have been placed inside were missing. And in their place was a grandfather clock with words written on the side of the wall. My hands are frozen, but they weren't always this way. I used to reach for the sky and wave over the crowd, while my friend to my right offered me his snack. What's in there, Fluttershy? Heard Rainbow ask from behind her. I think it's a puzzle, Fluttershy said, explaining the words on the clock. I think I know the answer, though, she carefully said, lifting up her hoof to face the clock. She turned the long hand up to face midnight while moving the small hand to face 3. Fluttershy heard a loud click as if something was unlatched by her actions. She looked at the clock, waiting to see what it would do, when it suddenly began to rush up and out of her vision. Fluttershy let out a cry as she lost her bearings, falling into a giant hole that opened up beneath her.
Ooh.
Fluttershy! Rainbow Dash yelled before the hatch that had opened closed. Wind rushed past her ears. Falling in the darkness, she screamed and cried as she opened her wings and stopped her fall, but they were stuck, glued to her sides. Her hoofs flailed as she tried to grab something, anything. She descended into the bottomless darkness. Fluttershy let out a groan as she slowly lifted herself up off the ground. She rubbed her head as her eyes were opened. It was too dark. She couldn't see a thing. Rainbow Dash? Pinkie Pie? Fluttershy called out, trying to reach around for something. Only silence returned her call. She felt her saddlebag in her hoop and remembered something she'd seen inside of it. She carefully opened it up, but before reaching in, she moved the music box slightly to the side before grabbing hold of a lantern in her teeth, pulling it out and turning on the light.
Right, the lantern.
She was in a blank room. The walls seemed to be made of cement worn away by age. The sound of water dripping echoed off the walls. She looked up at the ceiling. A metal grate was sitting in the way of her trying to fly back up along the shaft she had fallen through. How did I get through the grate? She asked herself, not exactly sure what had just happened. And why am I not hurt if I fell from such a great distance? She looked at her body, not seeing any damage
Because you're like a boss.
or feeling any pain. It was as if landing on the hard cement had, after falling great height, hadn't hurt her.
Like a boss.
I need to get out of here. I need to meet back up with Royal Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie. Fluttershy thought to herself before looking around for an exit. She saw a metal door along the wall behind her. Okay, I just need to get my bearings, find where I am, and... Fluttershy opened the metal door, revealing a long hallway, water covering the floor after a small dip in the ground. The walls looked like they were molding over. The channels seemed to stretch and turn. I have no idea where I am. She had never seen this place before. Why is it flooded with water? She asked as she slowly began to step into it. It wasn't very deep. It only came up to about her ankles, but it was enough that the tips of her hair would drag in it. The cool water sent a few shivers up her spine, but she headed forward. The only sound she could hear was the splashing of her steps as she went down the long hall. The quiet hallways seemed to echo her splashing loudly. The darkness of the hallways, lit only by the light of her lantern, sent a chill up her spine. She really hoped to get out of this hallway soon. She rounded a corner along the hallway and found herself facing an intersection. The paths branched out to her left and right. Now which way am I supposed to go? Fluttershy furrowed her brow in frustration and fear. She didn't want to get lost. Not here, not with the idea that monsters could be anywhere. The music box began to hiss again, letting out the sound of bees buzzing. She grimaced at herself for having jinxed it. The next sound she heard was a slow splashing of steps being taken in the water. Each step seemed to sloosh around as it got closer. She looked down both paths. She couldn't tell which way the sound was coming from, and running back would only lead back to the dead end. Her attention snapped to the left route when her eyes caught the creature emerging in the light. Her eyes widened as she stared at what was treading through the water. It was a mannequin, a moving mannequin with no head. Its body looked like it was made of cloth, rotted with age and wear. It had several large seams sewn along as if it had been put together and torn apart many times. It had several pale, sickly colors and looked like it had trouble walking. Fluttershy took a step back from the creature. The buzzing of the music box grew louder as it came closer. It reared up on its front legs, then smashed them down into the water, growing closer to Fluttershy. Her legs acted on their own, her galloping fast down the right path, getting as far away from the monster as she could. The water kicked up and sprayed across her body as she ran as fast as she could through the hallway. The water was slowing her down, but she could outrun that creature. She looked behind her as the buzzing of her box grew to a quiet stop. The mannequin couldn't keep up with her. She was in the clear. She slowed down a little, breathing softly as she turned back to look in front of her, stopping just short of running into a wall. She had come to another split in the road. She looked right down the path, not seeing anything unusual. Suddenly, her music box roared with its buzzing as her head snapped to the left right before her body was hit by two hind legs, sending her flying down the right path. She hit the water with a huge splash as she skidded along the ground. She winced in pain as her skin burned and her chest ached. The lantern had landed just next to her with a splash in the water, cutting the light from the area.
Oh, fuck.
She groaned in pain, feeling a well beginning to form in her chest as she groggily reached out for her light. She managed to grab the handle, lifting the lantern from the water. She could hear the steps of what had attacked her shifting through the water, getting closer, slowly. She frantically turned the lantern back on. It gave a few clicks without turning on. Making Fluttershy grimace to each click, she desperately turned the knob again and again, praying for it to light up. The flame came to life, illuminating the mannequin, whose front hooves now stood raised over her. The legs came down, striking her body.
Ooh.
Fluttershy wanted to let out a scream, but the handle of her lantern in her mouth just caused her to bite down. The hooves of the mannequin scratched against her skin as it dragged its hooves. Pain soared through Fluttershy's mind as she winced, her eyes shut, biting down on the lantern so hard she began to bleed a little. Tears rolling down her eyes as she couldn't stop her attacker. I need you to be strong now, all right? Her eyes shot open as she whipped her head around and looked at the mannequin, it raising its hooves once more to come down on her. Forcing every ounce of strength into her hooves, Fluttershy swirled her body around before kicking the mannequin with her hind legs. The mannequin stumbled for a tiny bit, forcing itself to put its hooves back on the ground. Fluttershy internally cursed herself for being so weak, but was she able to get back to her hooves? She turned and began to run again, escaping the tormenting creature. She felt like her lungs were burning. Each hoof step seemed to only intensify the pain in her chest, but she had to keep going. She rounded another corner, seeing another blip before her. The buzz of the music box returning, she swiftly moved her head back and forth, seeing the mannequin trying to head for her, trying to attack her. She wouldn't let it this time. She turned down the left path and ran away from it. She looked up ahead as she saw an opening. She rushed forward, putting all of her might for this one point of escape. She jumped out of the water, landing on dry land as she reached out the door and opened it, escaping behind it before shutting it. Fluttershy panted heavily, leaning against the cool steel door. She felt like her chest was on fire, burning from being tossed around and slammed. She could feel blood trickling down either side from her where the creature had cut into her, and she felt where she had been hit slowly starting to swell.
Yeesh.
She could only let out gasping groans and pants of pain as she tried to breathe, her lungs feeling like they might burst with each breath of air. There were monsters, just as Pinkie Pie had said there were. The music box had warned her of the danger of the creatures, too. When she had been struck, she couldn't find the strength to stand up. She had been willing to lay there and take it. She would have let that mannequin do whatever it had intended to do to her. But a voice stuck out in her mind. It was Rainbow's voice. She had told her to be strong. Fluttershy put the lantern down for a moment, wiping the blood from her mouth and with her wet hoof. She was soaked. The water had drenched her completely. She needed to dry off and she needed to put something on her wounds. She looked at the room she had just entered. It was a room similar to the one she had fallen into, only this time there was a ladder in the middle of it, leading up to a hole with a faint light shining down from it. Fluttershy adjusted her aching jaw, gently spitting out some blood that had been pooling in it. Then she gingerly picked up the lantern and turned it off, placing it back in the bag. She rubbed her jaw gently. I need a better way to get light, she thought to herself for a moment. She couldn't keep holding the lantern in her mouth if she was going to keep biting down on it. Fluttershy slowly walked over to the water, beginning to climb up at one hoof at a time. The ladder seemed to stretch far into the hole. Fluttershy could barely see the top of the ladder. Though she could still see it, the faint light was shining down from the hole, illuminating her path. The water in her maiden coat felt like it was holding her down, but it was slowly dripping off her body. With a few final grunts, she managed to pull herself to the top of the ladder. Pulling herself to the wooden floor, she let herself lay on, panting as she breathed. Her eyes felt a little heavy, but she couldn't let herself lose consciousness yet, not till she at least tended to her wounds. She was in a house. She couldn't tell whose house it was, but it must have been a house in Ponyville. It was small, but it was cozy. She grunted as she got to her feet, moving to where she could see a bathroom in the house. She pulled two towels that were hanging on the wall and placed them against her body. She winced as the cotton landed on her scratches on her back, but bore the pain for the moment. She rubbed the towels against her hair and coaxing as much of the water as she could off of her. When she felt she was dry enough, she looked at her wounds in the mirror. The scratches on her back were deeper than she had thought, but weren't too serious. What worried her more was the deep blue marks that had appeared on the side of her chest from where she had been kicked. Her teeth were a little red as well, but it only seemed to be minor bleeding. It'd stop on its own. She looked through the bathroom drawers and found a bottle of antiseptic and a few bandages.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
With very careful hoof, she cleaned her wounds, grimacing and gritting her teeth as the alcohol burned. Once it was clean, she carefully placed bandages against the wounds and wrapped it a few times around her body. A few tears escaped her eyes as she grimaced in pain, but she had to make sure the bandages were on securely. She panted once the whole procedure was over. She wobbly stood on her hooves and inspected the bandages. They'd do for now, but she needed a serious medical evaluation when she could find a doctor. Her eyes grew heavy as she slowly wandered out of the bathroom. She couldn't go outside like this. If she was attacked, she wouldn't have the strength to run away. Fluttershy wandered to the nearby couch, gently sliding her bag off, placing it to the couch before getting on top of it and curling up. Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, where are you two? Fluttershy thought as she began to close her eyes, more tears escaping. Please, I need you two with me. I need you to be strong now, alright? Alright, I promise I will be. Fluttershy said that, holding back her lonely sobs. She had to be strong. She told Dash that she would be. Fluttershy slowly but surely fell asleep.
Damn.
Well, that's the end of chapter 2.
This is getting heavy, man.
Yeah.
I don't blame her for being scared. I'd be fucking terrified of my wits as well.
I don't blame her for being scared either.
Okay.
I wonder if just like in Silent Ponyville, what if the Slender Pony shows up?
Oh boy.
Fluttershy's gonna be scared to death.
Dude, I'd probably just put a bullet in my head if I saw Slender Man. I'm just kidding.
Alright,
I'd fight you to
anyways.
death. Anyway.
Alright, anyways, this is JTH.
Mr. Tails a Hero.
And we will see you in part